But let me know what you think about this, actually. I think mixed is more matchup based than men's, or women's for that matter, maybe. I don't know anything about women's. But I think mixed is more matchup based than men's because if you look at, when Tyson and Catherine play against Ben and Anna Lee have not had any real issues with Tyson and Catherine at all. It always looks really comfortable. I don't know if Tyson and Catherine have won, maybe they've won a game. It's been very comfortable. But I would consider Tyson and Catherine more difficult for me and Anna to play than JW and Georgia are. And there's an argument, I think, that Tyson and Catherine are a better team than JW and Georgia. But JW and Georgia give Ben and Anna Lee way more trouble than Tyson and Catherine do. Okay, we're about to do another podcast where Adam carries me, and I'm not exactly sure why I'm the one that's introducing Adam. Adam should be the one introducing me, but here we are. Thanks again.
I feel like we talked about that last time too, did we not? How I should do the intro. We sure haven't switched though. It's all good. Maybe next time.
It's funny because it's like I'm the one that presses record. It's my computer, I got the gadgets here. I feel like I'm the one that should say, hey, we got Adam Stone coming on. But if that's not how it should be, I mean, you say the word. This is your show. This is the Adam Stone show. All up to you.
Hey, well, you're really moving ahead in adulting and in life because you got your actual name on your thing. I'm still Corinne. So you're James Ignatowich down there instead of Anna Bright. So you're moving in the right direction, James. No question.
Yeah, no, I finally got a charger for my computer. It was actually 3 months with no charger. I would always have to use Anna's charger. She was like, let me get you a charger. She actually bought me a charger. That's what happened. But details are details.
Yeah, details. I mean, you didn't have to say 3 months. You could have said a while.
It was actually more than 3. That's why I said 3.
You dumbed it down a little bit to 3. Oh, that's good stuff. Well, man, we're on the topic of you just moving into adult life, even though you might, occasionally take 3 months to get a charger. So why don't we talk about this virtual coaching right off the bat before we get into the PPA recap? Tell me a little bit about what's going on with the virtual coaching.
This might be the perfect time to introduce the virtual coaching because we're only a minute in. People haven't logged off yet. Nobody's quit on the podcast yet. You don't want to introduce that stuff at the end. Half of the audience is there. So my virtual coaching there's a bunch of options. Like, we're going to have option where it's a one-on-one Zoom meeting with me for an hour, and it's just me and you. We're going to talk about your game. We're going to talk about anything that comes to your mind. I'll be pretty unfiltered. If you want to know my thoughts about Adam Stone behind his back, I got you. Unfiltered. Just don't record it. And stuff like that. We're gonna do. You can send me your match footage, your practice footage, and I'm a pickleball nerd. I'm watching the game all the time, so I figured, I might as well get into coaching because I feel like I know how to coach to a certain extent. But we'll let you guys be the judge of that. So thank you, Adam, for bringing that up because I'm really excited about this. So
no, definitely. James, I do think that you have a good eye for the game, and I don't think anyone, whether it's watching film, tiptoe, crazy footwork on the court, has done more in pickleball in the last 18 months to 2 years. So take advantage of that dedication you've had to the game and make your game better. I think that's a great idea. Let's move right on to the PPA. Had a big tournament this past weekend down in Daytona, and we talked last time about how you needed a bit of time off after the strenuous draws at Nationals. You went on a little rant about it. Everyone appreciated that. So let's start off with mixed. So you went ahead and gave Anna Bright over to Andreas Seelstrom. How did their day go, and were you able to watch any of the matches?
I'm going to tell you the truth. I didn't actually watch. I was pretty busy. I didn't have much time. I was setting up my website, the virtual coaching, whatever. The truth is I didn't watch, but I heard great things. I heard that they actually beat Connor Garnett and Rihanna Valdez, which is a good win. I mean, Connor's been playing great. Connor got to the finals of men's, and Andreas is a funny player because he has so much power. He might have the best overhead in the game. I mean, it's either him or Thomas Wilson. He's 6'9". He's got insane hands. And he's not maybe the best mover. He's over 40 now, but I think he does have a high ceiling. I think, he's been playing for a year now, maybe a year and a half. So he's still raw. His soft game isn't great, but everything else is great. I mean, his backhand punch is actually insane. And I think if he commits himself and he keeps playing, like, he's getting great practice. He's playing with me, sometimes JW, Christian, Gabe Tardio. Like, he's in that epicenter in Delray of the best players. So I think a guy like Andreas is actually somebody who can maybe enter that premier level conversation, maybe towards the back end of that in doubles. I could see him making, being a guy that gets to the quarters in doubles, like if he gets the right partner. I mean, he's got so many tools, but he's still really raw, obviously. And then Anna's Anna, so we know that. I mean, and they had a tough one against Jesse and Riley, but that's a tough team to beat. I mean, it's funny. Andreas had actually told me after, he was like, "Man, Riley's annoying." He's like,
Hey,
something.
I like him more already. Well done on the epicenter. That's a good word there, James.
That's
Very
the
solid stuff.
longest word I know.
But I think that there's no question it's the most unique, special skill set we've ever seen. With his length, the pop you talked about, the very, very high end tennis, pro tennis background, and the question is, can he overcome some of the age and footwork issues to let that skill set shine at its best? And we'll have to find out. I hope he stays healthy. I know he's had some back issues before, so if he stays healthy, I think it'll be a fun, whatever, 6 months to a year to see if he can take that next leap, even though he is at an accelerated age.
Well, what's funny too is, like, you see a big guy like that and you think right off the bat he's probably better on the left than on the right. But when he plays with me, JW, like he played a bunch with me, JW, and Dylan, and he was hanging in there really well when he was on the right. And what's funny about him is I think he's better on the right because he can sit backhand so hard because he's 6'9" that he never has to hit a forehand. It's like, you see how hard it is to make Matt Wright or Colin Johns hit a forehand. Imagine trying to make Andreas hit a forehand. If he stands on that right sideline and he just goes like this all backhand, he's got 35% of the court. So, I mean, that's what I found. I love to speed up off the bounce from the left, and I have not had a lot of success attacking Andreas unless I go full back, which is something that I love to do. But anyways,
Big man, big target, tall, wide, whatever you are, full bag works against those players, and of course, works best against those heavy-handed guys as well. We had a nice run from my buddies Thomas and Viv. They got a bronze medal. Always like to see people I like do well. We had a couple interesting score lines. We had Callan, Dawson, and Rachel Rohrabacher beating Matt and Lucy first round, and then getting smoked 3-1 by Elise Jones and Colin Johns. Very interesting mixed score line there.
yeah.
Any thoughts on any of that?
Well, I spoke to Matt after, and I think Matt had some, he wasn't even able to use the paddle that he normally uses because the paddle that he normally uses was still being tested by the time that he had started play. So he wasn't able to get his paddle tested and cleared before he had to start. So he had to use some different model. So I don't know the details behind that. I don't want to throw the PPA under the bus. It's really tough to test every single paddle. So many paddles are failing, and it's not necessarily the PPA's fault, but that's just a tough situation. Not even just, switching from one paddle to another, but actually switching to an entirely different model. Maybe it was a thicker version of the Onyx. That's tough to do. So I think that's probably what happened there, because you'd think Matt and Lucy would probably beat Callan and Rachel. Not that Callan and Rachel aren't good. I mean, Rachel's playing really well, and so is Callan. But I think I'm more interested by Colin and Elise winning 3.
Yeah.
Elise is good at mixed. Me and Elise, we went 2-1 at MLP this last event. She played great. Colin, I didn't think he was a great mixed player. I don't think anybody did. Not even Colin. I mean, Colin would tell you himself he's not. And I'm not worried. Colin doesn't watch this podcast. He's probably watching film. He doesn't care about our podcast. So I'll say whatever I want about Colin. But no, I mean, Colin is. I didn't think he was going to be a good. Look, I mean, him and Elise haven't had a lot of success when they played together at, I think it was Cincinnati in early September. I don't know. I guess Colin's learning how to play mixed because I watched one highlight from Colin against Ben and Anna Lee, and I think Colin beat Ben in a hands battle. He looked like he was all over the place. And he actually said to me, he's like, my focus this year is going to be getting better at mixed. So maybe he's doing that. Maybe this is the first indication of it. I don't know.
Yeah, no, and I know Elise is the definition of that right side rock, but she is not doesn't have a big wingspan and doesn't particularly cover a large amount of court. So Colin was doing some work. He had to have for them to have that success. A little bit different. You're more comfortable than Colin taking a lot of the court, so it's different when you guys are playing an MLP with Elise. But yeah, just interesting score lines. I thought in those two matches, and that makes a lot of sense with the Matt Wright paddle. I was if Rachel and Callan beat them, wouldn't surprise me. But 3-7, definitely a pretty comfortable score line. And then of course we had the Johnsons losing in 4 to Ben and Anna Lee in the finals. I believe they won game 1 and lost game 2 13-11, and then a quick game 3 and game 4. Were you able to see any of that? And if you weren't, what do you think about that matchup in general?
Yeah, I watched I think a little more than half of it, and I've seen them play each other a lot. I watched when J-Dub and Georgia actually beat Ben and Anna Lee earlier this year in Arizona. I think it was in January. And it's funny because that both of those teams are somewhat similarly constructed in that a lot of their offense, maybe even more offense, comes from the girl than the guy. I know when I play Georgia and JW, Georgia's the one that's actually pulling the trigger more often than JW is. And when I play Ben and Anna Lee, I think it's pretty much even. If it bounces to Ben's backhand, there's actually, it's way safer than if it bounces to Anna Lee on any part of the court. So I think that if you're Anna Lee and you love to attack the guy and you have JW in front of you, that's not an easy task. And she's able to attack JW. She's had some success attacking JW, not a lot. But if that's their main source of offense, that's not an easy task to attack JW. So I think that's why that team is a pretty good matchup for Ben and Anna Lee, because Georgia can maybe have more success attacking Ben than Anna Lee can have attacking J-Dub, if that makes sense. So, I mean, Georgia obviously can get better at dinking forehand cross court. It's still a little shaky, I think, technically. Getting up to the kitchen, I know Ben and Anna Lee have a huge advantage there also. And it's a weird matchup dependent thing because when we played Georgia and JW, I mean, Anna and I have a really good record against Georgia and JW this year. I think we're like 6-1. And at nationals, we beat them in 3 straight games pretty convincingly. And it's like, I don't think we're much of a better team than they are. I think it's just matchup based because if Anna can dink cross court with Georgia all day, and the only way for them to beat us is if Georgia attacks me, that hasn't been a path to success. So it's an interesting situation. But yeah, mixed I think is actually more matchup dependent. This is just a theory I have. I could be wrong. I don't know. But let me know what you think about this actually. I think mixed is more matchup based than men's or women's for that matter, maybe. I don't know anything about women's. But I think mixed is more matchup based than men's because if you look at, when Tyson and Catherine play against Ben and Anna Lee, Ben and Anna Lee have not had any real issues with Tyson and Catherine at all. It always looks really comfortable. And I don't know if Tyson and Catherine have won, maybe they've won a game. It's been very comfortable. But I would consider Tyson and Catherine more difficult for me and Anna to play than JW and Georgia are. And there's an argument, I think, that Tyson and Catherine are a better team than JW and Georgia. But JW and Georgia give Ben and Anna Lee way more trouble than Tyson and Catherine do. So it's just so matchup based because there is that huge gap in level between a guy and a girl, and the guy's in front of the girl. It's just it's weird. So that's kind of a tangent that I just went on. But
Number 1, we had 4 last time, James. I don't think we're going to get there, but number 1 is good. And I think I think you're exactly right. I think in my playing career, so many times I would have trouble with this team, ease against this team, and then they would go their merry way and do complete opposites against other teams. And this happens so frequently. And I think that there's maybe just a bit more to exploit and more going on in those mixed matchups as opposed to gender, so that when you are in a favorable or not favorable matchup, it's just harder to get out of, or whatever the case may be. So I think that makes a lot of sense. And in that particular matchup with Ben and Anna Lee and JW and Georgia, it is super interesting because I think JW might have the worst attacks of the four. Granted, out of the air on the backhand, his is very good, but it's so unique with those matchups. And then a perfect example with CP and Tyson giving you guys more trouble than the Johnson siblings, and I think most people would not guess that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So we're gonna touch on women's a little bit, but we have great insights here from James Ignatowich on men's doubles and mixed doubles. So a little less so in women's because he doesn't play that event. So we'll touch on it.
You hope they better hope I don't jump in.
50-0, James. Pretty wild for Catherine Parento and Annalie Waters. Ended up catching the veterans, Callie and Lucy, in the final, who had a couple nice, pretty comfortable wins against Allison Harris and Rachel Rohrabacher, but 4-2. But Leah Jansen and Hurricane Tyra, 2-9. That's pretty comfortable. And I'm not sure I would have expected that kind of scoreline from that match. And then they had a very tight match against Jade Kawamoto and Lacey Schneeman to end up playing Catherine and Annalie for gold on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Callie was just on my MLP team. She's playing really well. She's got such heavy hands. Once Jay switched to the new paddle, I think that's what got him to the second heaviest hands on our team, maybe. But before he had that paddle, I'd rather attack Jay than Callie. She's tough to attack. She's got the little sort of pancake-ish thing that she does right here at the right shoulder. And yeah, I mean, she's a great women's player and also a great mixed player. But Catherine and Annalie, that's a tough team. I think, let me ask you this, because I would talk a little bit about women's double strategy, but I probably know less than the person watching this right now. I don't get women's double strategy. I actually don't watch women's doubles because it's so carnal and so aggressive. They're speeding up so often that it gives me bad habits because because that's what I want to do. Like, I watch women's doubles. I'm like, okay, it's okay. I can pull a backhand off the bounce from 3 feet off the line. Let's do it. And then I do it. It doesn't work. So I can't watch women's doubles. It gives me bad habits. Anyways, let me ask you this. Do you think it's bad that Annalie does not lose? Do you think that it is maybe if she starts losing in 2 or 3 years, it'll be tough? Maybe she's not, learning how to lose, so to speak. It could be bad for, I don't know. People say that. I don't really know. I lose all the time and I'm fine. So I can't really. What do you think?
Okay, so you're saying not necessarily bad for the sport if she dominates, but bad for her in general.
Exactly.
I think that absolutely that's true. So I mean, you just forget, she's playing this sport that so many people care about at such a high level. You forget about her age, and I think that anyone who is that young and has older people, adults admiring them, I think it's a very interesting dynamic mentally in terms of your development and everything. And so I think that all of that wrapped into one, her being the player that she is, the fact that she's this dominant and having this run in this sport, which we know is getting tighter and tighter in terms of talent and level. There's going to be other players coming in. I don't care how good they are. Some thought it would happen before it has, but some of the dominant players a few years ago were very much still around. So I think that it will be interesting to see how she reacts to a handful of losses, multiple losses in a row, maybe not even winning an event in a tournament, which I think is impossible not to happen at some point.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, it's not going to happen in the next 6 months or even probably not even next year. But in 2025, we see how much pickleball is exploding. And if you look at the players that have come in, it's not actually as much as people say. Like, if you look at the men's players, the guys that have come in the last 2 years, I first picked up a paddle 2 years ago. The guys in the top 10, when I first picked up a paddle 2 years ago, I think 7 of those guys are still in the top 10, maybe 8. That's not a crazy rate of, displacement. Like, people aren't just getting displaced left and right, right? You still have all these legacy players. My year, it was like me, Federico, Pablo. And the next year, it's like Christian, Connor. Remind me if there's anybody else that's having a lot of success in doubles. I can't really think of it. I don't know. It's not what I'm saying is it's not a crazy rate of people coming in. And I think that's what's going to change because people are now seeing these big contracts. 2 years ago, when I came into the sport, I didn't think I was going to make a lot of money. I just loved to hit dinks. I just was obsessed with playing the game. I just love the game. But that's different, because now people are hearing, oh, this person's making $300,000, whatever it is. That's going to change a lot. So in 2 years, maybe 2 years from today, so let's say 2 years ago, 7 out of the 10 are still there. 2 years ago from today, maybe 2 of those players will still be in the top 10. I think maybe 3. I think it's going to be a big displacement of current talent. So in 2 years from now, if Anna Leigh, if I were betting on it, I'd still bet that she will be number 1 for sure. I'm not crazy. I think she still will be, but she's going to lose more often, I would imagine. She has to. She's 50-0. If she loses less often,
has to.
It's not possible to lose less often. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how that's going to work. Like the only thing I can compare it to is when I was 14, I might have to actually just move on. I can't even say that. Anyways, that's all I got.
Okay. Well, it's kind of, I mean, it's not the same thing, but it kind of is like a child star. It's
Wait,
like
you froze. Oh, there you are.
okay, yeah, like
You're still frozen.
oh no, that's sad.
Okay, let's touch on men's.
Yeah. So, well, we touch on women's. We got to get at least a little bit deeper in men's because we got to take advantage of your expertise here, James. So, we we had the Johns brothers lose. We have to talk about this to Jaume and Wyatt Stone, and a little message to young Buck Stone. He's got 7 more to go before he's the Stone with the most wins over Ben. So we'll just touch on that. I haven't tooted my horn
You're safe.
very much lately, so I'm just gonna. I had to squeeze that in there.
I think you'll be the greatest Stone of all time for a
All
long.
right. Hey, I like that.
I don't know if there's any current Stones. I don't know. We'll see about Wyatt.
Yeah, I mean, he's got some game. Obviously, you
He's
don't. I do not care if you can't repeat it or whatever. You beat the Johns brothers. You got some game. What about Jaume and Wyatt? Do you think possibly led to this victory for them?
It's funny, actually. There was a video of it on YouTube that I saw a little bit of that then got taken down. It was on YouTube. I got sent it. I probably shouldn't say who recorded it because there's a reason that they deleted it. Long story, but I saw the video and Wyatt was going behind Ben a lot. Wyatt was rolling dinks out of the air and dinking cross court with Ben really well. Or sorry, with Colin really well. Going at Ben's belly button a lot, mixing up the spots. So what I saw was Wyatt attacking Ben a lot. And Jaume's hands looked good, for a new player. He's got he finds a lot of forehands. He'll find a forehand here. I didn't see much of this. Like, I don't really see a backhand punch. He's kind of like forehand. And then 2, he's kind of like like a lot of the best women. No, don't take that the wrong way, Jaume, but that's just how he counters. Like forehand and 2, no 1. But I think he's I said it before. He's my favorite singles player. Maybe he's my favorite doubles player now. I don't know. The guy, he looks good. But I think I was actually more impressed with Wyatt, which is something I never thought I would say. But
yeah, I know. And I've been on court with him a handful of times, and of course I've watched him play and called a couple of his matches. And I think that he will make some questionable decisions and have some inconsistency and some random errors move in. But I think kind of the shot making and overall hand speed is not that bad at all. So I think he has some tools to work with, and I think there's reason to believe as he gets a little bit older and more mature that he could put some more stuff together and have be in the mix for possibly having more wins like this. And it makes sense that Xiaomei's finding a lot of forehands as well, when the main pattern is Wyatt attacking bench straight ahead, gives him a lot of time and extra few feet to do some damage off of that. So, and I think that's a big difference in skill sets too, is speeding up and then cleaning up your own ball, and then having your partner speed up and you being ready to clean up as well. And I think it's not as simple as you're just good at both. I think they're both very different.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually, and one thing about Wyatt too is his backhand punch is pretty good. He sits backhand pretty hard, and he can, like, he's tough to attack when he's on the right. So I think he's got upside too, for sure. And as far as cleaning up your own attacks, like that's something I've noticed. Like that's something JW is, he's so good at both, but a lot of players are maybe a lot better at, cleaning up their own attack. And I think when I first started, I was, for whatever reason, a lot better when my partner sped up, because I would just kind of just react, and it was pretty natural. And when I sped up, when I was getting started, I didn't really know the patterns. I just, I had fast hands, but didn't really know what was going on. And when I sped up, I was actually worse. So that's something that I think is a really good point. It's just that you have to be good at both, or at least work on both. Because that was something I had to put a ton of effort into, just kind of saying, okay, if I speed up across his body with the backhand off the bounce, most of the time it's going to go here to my forehand. Most of the time it's going this way in a triangle. And Colin Johns actually taught me that, funnily enough. Like, I was playing Minnesota, and he was like, hey, yeah, if you speed up across the body, it's going to go here. Like, walk it across. I was like, oh, I had no idea.
Oh.
Yeah. So, like, it's funny. Like, those are the types of nuances that a lot of players don't really, it takes time. Like, there's so many little nuances that you just subconsciously figure out. Like, you can know it in your mind, but you don't actually do it. Like, it has to be ingrained. It's yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, I had some issues with that, especially in mixed in my career. And I mean, you might not think so, but I was an okay left side player there for a while. And whenever I was kind of whatever going alpha and taking a lot of court and squeezing middle, I seemed to have more success and better percentage wins in those hands battles. And when my female partner would pull some triggers or try to attack the guy and actually set up a decent ball for me, I would find myself making more errors and not being as ready as I should. So just wanted to mention that mention that those are two different skill sets. And James, did we have a 12-year-old in pro doubles? Was there a double Duong in men's doubles in Daytona? I didn't think it was his dad, but I figured it had to be a relative. So very
It's got to be a
interesting.
relative. They didn't just find a Duong on the street.
A double Duong, yes.
Yeah, like taking partner applications. Last name's got to be Duong. Got some other Duong. Now this is Bao Duong. People don't know about Bao Duong. You go on Quang Duong's Instagram, and it's all Quang Duong. There's no Bao Duong. And Bao's name is spelled Bao, just like a bao bun, like the Vietnamese dumpling thing.
So
Whatever.
good.
Yeah, exactly. And he's kind of he's thick. He's kind of looks like a bao bun. Like he's like 12, but he's like big and kind of chunky and strong. And I look at this kid, I walk by him, and I thought he was like Kwong Duong's 16-year-old little brother, maybe his like slightly thicker twin. Sometimes you've got a skinny twin and a big twin. He's 12. So he's like 5'8, 5'9. He's like a big 12-year-old, and he's lefty, but he switches hands. And it's funny. You can go to Kwong's Instagram. His last post is a video of Kwong and Bao playing together against AJ and Eric Lang. And Bao is like almost as good as Kwong. And Kwong says that Bao's hands are better than Kwong's hands. That's coming from Kwong. So I feel like I'm going to mix up the names like Kwong, Bao, Duong. It's a lot. But that video on Kwong's Instagram is a video of Bao being attacked by AJ right at the chest, and he just sends it back. Counter winner. And he's 12. So you just ask yourself, like, is this kid the next? I mean, he's nasty. Like, he's making drops. His resets are looking good. He's playing pro at 12. Like, I don't know. I think that kid might end up being like a real problem. So I just wanted to shout out Bao Duong because it's just hilarious. Another thing too is like you watch Kwong and everybody's like, oh, why does after every point Kwong just look at his dad, right? Like every point he just looks at his dad, and it's his dad's got some sort of solution, I'm sure. Bao doesn't do that. Bao doesn't even. I've never seen Bao look at the dad. He's focused on his own game. He's like, I've got the answers. Bao's got the answers. He doesn't care.
Oh, it's so good that yes, yeah, I mean he switches hands. He's a lefty. You said he's 5'8" or 5'9", and he's smacking AJ Kohler speed ups back at him for winners. I mean that is going to be a problem. Granted, they did lose 0-2, but but still the skill set is there. So yeah, watch out. They're coming out of the woodworks. So be prepared, everybody.
Yeah, that's all I got to say.
Well, that's all you have to say for the topic and the episode. I think it's a perfect time to shut it down. Appreciate the insights, Mr. James. Until next week, until we do it again. See you later.
Thank you. Thank you again, Adam.